Hello and welcome to chapter 9 from your textbook. The name of the chapter is Bholi. Let's see who this character is in the story. Her name was Sulekha, but since her childhood, everyone had been calling her Bholi, the simpleton. She was the fourth daughter of Numbardar Ramlal. When she was 10 months old, she had fallen off the cot on her head and perhaps it had damaged some part of her brain. That was why she remained a backward child and came to be known as Bholi, the simpleton. Okay, now we are introduced to a character called Bholi. And the narrator says that she was Bholi, the simpleton. What is the meaning of simpleton? Simpleton is somebody who is very simple and innocent. Simple and innocent. She doesn't understand much of the worldly affairs and she's quite innocent that way, very naive. And who was this girl? She was the daughter, fourth daughter to be precise, of a man called Numbardar Ramlal. Now, the narrator says that when she was small, how old? She was 10 months old, she had fallen off the cot. And because of that, it caused some injury in her brain. And that is why, since then, she came to be known as Bholi, the simpleton. And because of this brain injury, she remained a very backward child. Backward in terms of that she wasn't able to perceive things and understand things in the same manner as other children would do. So that is why the name of the character was Bholi and this was her background. At birth, the child was very fair and pretty. But when she was 2 years old, she had an attack of smallpox. Only the eyes were saved, but the entire body was permanently disfigured by deep black pockmarks. When she was born, she was very fair, she was very pretty. But when she turned 2 years old, she had an attack of smallpox and the entire body was covered with black marks, black pockmarks except her eyes. Little Sulekha could not speak till she was 5, and when at last she learned to speak, she stammered. The other children often made fun of her and mimicked her. As a result, she talked very little. Now this girl, she was not able to talk till the age of 5. And once, even if she started talking, she began to stammer. Stammer का मतलब होता है हकलाना या रुक के बात करना. So she was stammering even at the age of 5. And what was her name previously? Her name was Sulekha. And the other children would obviously make fun of her and they would mimic her. And because of this, she started to talk very less. वो कम बात करती थी. Ramlal had 7 children, 3 sons and 4 daughters, and the youngest of them was Bholi. It was a prosperous farmer's household and there was plenty to eat and drink. All the children except Bholi were healthy and strong. So now, her family had 7 siblings. There were 7 siblings. And who was the father? The name of the father is Ramlal. She had 7 siblings. 3 were brothers and 4 sisters. And she was the youngest of them. She was the youngest of all the 7 children. Now, their family was wealthy and prosperous. They had a lot of money. And there was not there was any scarcity. They had enough to eat and drink, and all the other children were very they were strong and healthy except for Bholi. The sons had been sent to the city to study in schools and later in colleges. Of the daughters, Radha, the eldest, had already been married. The second daughter, Mangla's marriage had also been settled, and when that was done, Ramlal would think of the third, Champa. Now, the sons were sent away to study in schools and then in colleges. Now, there were 4 daughters. The first one, her name was Radha. She was married. The second one was Mangla, and even her marriage settlement was done, that she was married. And now the third one was Champa, and Ramlal was thinking of marrying Champa also. They were good looking, healthy girls, and it was not difficult to find bridegrooms for them. But Ramlal was worried about Bholi. She had neither good looks nor intelligence. Now we have this character here, that of Bholi. If we can see, She is Bholi, and look at her face and her body. She has marks. Now all the other girls were pretty, they were intelligent, they were good looking, and they were healthy. So it was not difficult to find a perfect match for them. But Ramlal was consistently very scared, and he was very worried about Bholi. He thought that will I ever get a good match for Bholi, because of obviously the way she looked and that she was not very healthy as well. So she was a matter of concern. Bholi was 7 years old when Mangla was married. The same year, a primary school for girls was opened in their village. The Tehsildar Sahib came to perform its opening ceremony. He said to Ramlal, as a revenue official, you are the representative of the government in the village, and so you must set an example to the villagers. You must send your daughters to school. Now, Mangla got married, and what was the age of Bholi? Bholi was 7 years old at that time. And the same year when Mangla got married, there was a primary school that opened up in the village. And who had come for the inauguration? The Tehsildar came to the opening ceremony, the inauguration. And he said to Ramlal, because Ramlal was a wealthy farmer, he said that you are a representative of the people. So you should start this system of sending your girls to school, because you are the representative. What you will do, others will follow suit. So you should be the first one to send your daughters to school. That night when Ramlal consulted his wife, she cried, are you crazy? If girls go to schools, who will marry them? Now obviously the story said, in primitive times, in earlier times when girls were not educated that much. So Ramlal's wife also said that if we will send our girls to school, then who will marry them eventually? So she was very worried about marriage of Bholi. But Ramlal had not the courage to disobey the Tehsildar. At last his wife said, I will tell you what to do. Send Bholi to school. As it is, there is little chance of her getting married. With her ugly face and lack of sense, let the teachers at school worry about her. Now Ramlal did not have that much of courage to say no to the Tehsil, that I am not going to send my daughters. So what does his wife say? His wife says that it's better if we send her to school, because anyways we're going to find difficulty in getting her married because of the way she looks and her sense. So it's better if we send her to school. The teachers at school are going to worry about what will happen with her. So we'll be free. So let's send Bholi to school, because anyways she is not going to be married off so easily. The next day Ramlal caught Bholi by the hand and said, come with me, I will take you to school. Bholi was frightened. She did not know what a school was like. She remembered how a few days ago their old cow Lakshmi had been turned out of the house and sold. No, she shouted in terror and pulled her hand away from her father's grip. Now, what happens the next day? We can see in this picture that Ramlal is taking her to the school, and she's frightened because she had never, she did not even know what a school was like, and she just remembered, usko kuch aur yaad aa raha tha. What was she remembering? She was remembering that Lakshmi, their cow, had been turned out of the house and sold. That Lakshmi was taken out of the house. Who was Lakshmi? Lakshmi was a cow. The cow was taken out of the house and she was sold off. And so she's thinking of something else. So she is very terrified, and she pulls her hand away from her father's hand. Her father is holding her hand. She takes her hand and she wants to go away from there. She does not want to attend school. What's the matter with you, you fool? Shouted Ramlal. I'm only taking you to school. Then he told his wife, let her wear some decent clothes today, or else what will the teachers and the other schoolgirls think of us when they see her? Now, he's thinking that she should be properly dressed before reaching school, because then what will the other girls and what will the teachers think of her, that what kind of a dress is she wearing? So she asks her wife that please dress her up decently so that we can send her off to the school. New clothes had never been made for Bholi. The old dresses of her sisters were passed on to her. No one cared to mend or wash her clothes, but today she was lucky to receive a clean dress which had shrunk after many washings, and no longer fitted Champa. It was a very sorry state of affairs for Bholi because she always got the clothes which were passed on to them from her elder sisters. Whatever clothes her sisters used to wear, it was given off to Bholi because either they got worn off, yeah, their color faded away, or for whatever reason. She used to wear all of those clothes. And nobody even cared to wash them, or if they are, torn, nobody would mend them. So she would wear such clothes only. But now she got a chance to wear a decent school dress for school. She was even bathed and oil was rubbed into her dry and matted hair. Only then did she begin to believe that she was being taken to a place better than home. Now it was completely different for her. She was bathed very properly. Some oil was put in her hair. Her hair was very dry and matte. So with oil and with bathing and wearing a new dress, she was looking very clean. And now she began to understand that I am being taken to a place which is better than my home. मेरे घर से अच्छी जगह पे मुझे भेजा जा रहा है because I've been made to wear good clothes. I've been bathed. I've been put oil into my hair. So I'm being cleaned. I'm going to a better place. That's what she was thinking. When they reached the school, the children were already in their classrooms. Ramlal handed over his daughter to the headmistress. Left alone, the poor girl looked about her with fear-laden eyes. There were several rooms, and in each room, girls like her squatted on mats, reading from books or writing on slates. Now, when they reached school, what happens? Everybody, all the children were there in their classes, and Ramlal handed over his daughter to the headmistress. She was given to the headmistress to look after. And when she was alone, she looked at everybody with fear-laden eyes. Fear-laden eyes का मतलब होता है आंखें जिनमें डर था. She was very fearful, and everybody could see that fear in her eyes. उसकी आंखों में वो डर उन्हें दिख रहा था. And there were many rooms. There were girls. They were sitting on mats. They were reading or they were writing. So everybody was doing something. All the girls were doing something. The headmistress asked Bholi to sit down in a corner in one of the classrooms. Bholi did not know what exactly a school was like and what happened there. But she was glad to find so many girls, almost of her own age, present there. She hoped that one of these girls might become her friend. Now, this character Bholi, she had never seen a school. She had never even known what a school is. But once she reached there, initially she was frightened. But when she looked at the other girls and she was sitting there, she thought that, it's a good place and I might become friends with one of the girls. Koi mera friend ban sakta hai, she hoped. The lady teacher who was in the class was saying something to the girls, but Bholi could understand nothing. She looked at the pictures on the wall. Now, just, imagine there are children who are sitting and the teacher is teaching something. And there's one girl who is not understanding anything. She's not even listening to what the teacher is saying. She is looking at the images on the wall. So that is what Bholi was doing because she wouldn't understand anything at all. The colors fascinated her. The horse was brown, just like the horse on which the Tehsildar had come to visit their village. The goat was black, like the goat of their neighbor. The parrot was green, like the parrots she had seen in the mango orchard. And the cow was just like their Lakshmi. Now, वो कौन सी images देख रही थी? वो ये सारी images देख रही थी. And the colors fascinated her. Fascinate हो जाना मतलब बहुत एकदम आकर्षित हो जाना किसी चीज के प्रति. And she was very attracted to the pictures that she saw on the walls. How was the horse like? The horse was brown, like the horse on which the Tehsildar had come to visit their village. The color of the horse, वो क्या notice कर रही थी? Horse का color कैसा है? It is the same on which the Tehsildar had come to visit. Then the goat was just as black as the goat of their neighbor. The color were exactly the same. Parrot was as green as the other parrots that she had seen in the mango orchard, and the cow was very much similar to Lakshmi. Now, what do we understand from this? We understand that it was the fascination of the colors that were there on the walls of the school that actually amazed her. वो उन सारी चीज़ों को देख करके she was very tempted to recollect कि ये इसकी तरह दिखता है, ये गोट मेरे नेबर की गोट की तरह दिखती है, the cow is like my own cow, Lakshmi. So she was able to relate the things together. And suddenly Bholi noticed that the teacher was standing by her side smiling at her. What's your name, little one? She could stammer no further than that. And उससे उसकी टीचर ने नाम पूछा and she just kept saying bho bho bho. She started to stammer हकलाना, and उसके आगे वो बोल ही नहीं पाई. She wasn't able to speak further than that. Then she began to cry and tears flowed from her eyes in a helpless flood. She kept her head down as she sat in her corner, not daring to look up at the girls who she knew were still laughing at her. And what happened? She was very, very terrified, petrified. वो बहुत डर गई और रोने लग गई. She began to cry and tears began to roll from her eyes like a flood. बहुत तेजी से वो रोने लग गई. She was sitting with her head down and she was sitting in a corner. She was not looking at the girls, other girls who knew that they were laughing at her. When the school bell rang, all the girls scurried out of the classroom. But Bholi dared not leave her corner. Her head still lowered, she kept on sobbing. Now, as soon as the bell rang, all the other girls went out. They scurried. Scurried मतलब जल्दी जल्दी बाहर भाग जाना. They went out, but Bholi kept sitting there, just about crying, not saying anything. And she kept on sobbing. Sobbing मतलब रोना. It's a synonym for crying. Wailing, sobbing, crying. Bholi, the teacher's voice was so soft and soothing. In all her life, she had never been called like that. It touched her heart. Get up, said the teacher. It was not a command, but just a friendly suggestion. Bholi got up. Now tell me your name. Sweat broke out over her whole body. Would her stammering tongue again disgrace her? For the sake of this kind woman, however, she decided to make an effort. She had such a soothing voice, she would not laugh at her. Now, the teacher comes to her and very softly, very politely, she says, Bholi. And the way she said, Bholi को ऐसे लगा कि it was not a command. कि कोई command नहीं कर रहा है, but एक friendly suggestion दे रहा है. You know, it was so kind and so polite. And Bholi got up, hearing that voice. Now tell me your name. Sweat broke out over her whole body. उससे पूछा कि what is your name? And she started to sweat. She was so terrified, she started to sweat all over. But she was thinking in her mind कि if I stammer again, अगर मैं वापस से इस तरह से बोलूँगी तो will that mean a disgrace to her? Will I mean that I am disrespecting that lady? वो ये सब सोच रही थी. But she understood that if I will not tell my name properly, then this will not be very good because of the way she was talking to me. The teacher was talking very politely to this girl and she thought that I need to answer her and at least make an effort to speak up something because she thought that she will not laugh at her like others. Bholi, she began to stammer. Well done, the teacher encouraged her. Come on, now the full name. Bholi. At last, she was able to say it and felt relieved as if it was a great achievement. Well done, the teacher patted her affectionately and said, put the fear out of your heart and you will be able to speak like everyone else. Bholi looked up as if to ask, really? Now, उसको बहुत struggle करना पड़ा था just to say her name. Because nobody used to talk to her like that. Nobody would make an effort to, encourage her to speak up something. And so, she wasn't able to gather that courage to speak. But when this teacher made an effort to speak nicely with her, she answered back. She responded in the same manner. And the teacher said that put the fear out of your heart. अपने दिल से डर निकाल दो and you will be able to speak like everyone else. And you will start to speak like everyone else. Now, Bholi is very, very, she's amazed. She doesn't know. She says, really, will I be able to speak like that? That is, she was thinking in her mind. Yes, it will be very easy. You just come to school every day. Will you come? Bholi nodded, no, Say it aloud. Yes. And Bholi herself was astonished that she had been able to say it. Now, what does the teacher say? That it's very good that you're making an effort, but you will have to come to school every day to gather that courage. And Bholi responds, yes. She was very happy with her response. Didn't I tell you? Now take this book. The book was full of nice pictures, and the pictures were in color dog, cat, goat, horse, parrot, tiger, and a cow, just like Lakshmi. And with every picture was a word in big black letters. So now the teacher gives a book to Bholi, and in that book there are a number of pictures of cow and dog and rat and goat and horse and everything. And उनके नीचे लिखा हुआ है in letters. There was something written. Maybe it was an alphabet book or whatever, but it had some words written beneath every picture. In 1 month, you will be able to read this book. Then I will give you a bigger book. Then a still bigger one. In time, you will be more learned than everyone else. Then no one will ever be able to laugh at you. People will listen to you with respect. And you will be able to speak without the slightest stammer. Understand? Now go home and come back early tomorrow morning. Now the teacher is encouraging her. The teacher says to her that if you make an effort to come to school and try to read, I'll give you a bigger book, then an even bigger book, and like this you will be able to read very soon. You will learn the art of reading, and when you learn that, people are going to respect you. They will listen to you because you will become educated. So go home today, and once you come back tomorrow, that is when we will start our teaching. So you should be regular to school for this. Bholi felt as if suddenly all the bells in the village temple were ringing and the trees in front of the schoolhouse had blossomed into big red flowers. Her heart was throbbing with a new hope and a new life. Now, what was her feeling? She started to feel as if all the bells in the village temple were ringing and the trees in front of the schoolhouse had blossomed into big red flowers. So how had she started to feel? She had started to feel very positive towards a new hope, a new life. Everything started to become very nice and rosy for her. She thought that I am going to get a new life. Why? Because the life that she was leading till now, that brought happiness to her. So इसकी वजह से उसको एक नया hope मिला. Okay, that people will listen to me, people are going to respect me, they will speak nicely with me. Yes, I am going to go with it. Thus, the years passed. The village became a small town. The little primary school became a high school. There were now a cinema under a tin shed and a cotton ginning mill. The mail train began to stop at their railway station. So now time has passed. काफी सारा वक्त बीत जाता है. The village becomes a small town. The little primary school becomes a high school. Now there is a cinema under a tin shed. There is a cotton ginning mill, and the train starts to stop at the railway station in the village. So there is a lot of transformation that happens over the years. काफी सारे बदलाव आते हैं. One night after dinner, Ramlal said to his wife, "Then shall I accept Bishambar's proposal?" "Yes, certainly," his wife said. "Bholi will be lucky to get such a well-to-do bridegroom. A big shop, a house of his own, and I hear several thousand in the bank. Moreover, he is not asking for any dowry." So now, after many years, Ramlal and his wife and again having a conversation. Ramlal says to his wife, "Then, shall I accept the proposal by Bishambar?" And his wife says, "Yeah, I mean, it's a good proposal. He has his own house. He has a lot of money in his bank, and he has a big shop also. So he'll be a nice husband for my daughter, and he'll prove to be a nice bridegroom as well. Plus, he's not asking for any dowry. He's not asking for any gifts or anything. So he'll be a good proposal." "That's right, but he is not so young, almost the same age as I am, and he also limps. Moreover, the children from his first wife are quite grown up." But now the problem begins. Problem ये है कि the person Bishambar is a grown-up man. He's as big as Ramlal. He limps. Limp करना मतलब लंगड़ा के चलना. That is what limps. कि वो लंगड़ा के चलता है. And he has children from his first wife, and those children are also grown-ups now. So he's not a regular, he's not a boy, a young boy with whom we're going to marry. He has these issues. So maybe they're planning to marry Bholi off to Bishambar. So what does it matter? His wife replied, 45 or 50, it is no great age for a man. We are lucky that he is from another village and does not know about her pockmarks and her lack of sense. If we don't accept this proposal, she may remain unmarried all her life. And his wife is saying that it hardly matters whether he's 45 years old or 50 years old. It doesn't matter at all. He's a nice bridegroom for my daughter. And look at our daughter. She has pockmarks over her body. She doesn't have any sense. She's not intelligent. So who's going to marry her? She will remain unmarried all her life. She won't get a nice husband. Yes, but I wonder what Bholi will say. What will that witless one say? She's like a dumb cow. Now she's thinking that what will Bholi say? And he says that she's like a dumb cow. Bilkul dumb hai, she doesn't understand much. So what is she going to say? Maybe you are right, muttered Ramlal. In the other corner of the courtyard, Bholi lay awake on her cot, listening to her parents' whispered conversation. Now, they are talking to each other, and Bholi was sitting there on another cot and she was listening to whatever her parents were talking about. Bishambar Nath was a well-to-do grocer. He came with a big party of friends and relations with him for the wedding. A brass band playing a popular tune from an Indian film headed the procession, with the bridegroom riding a decorated horse. Ramlal was overjoyed to see such pomp and splendor. Now, who was Bishambar Nath? He was a well-to-do grocer. He had a shop. And how did he come? He had a big party of friends and relations with him for the wedding. Obviously, he's a big person there in the village. There was a brass band who was playing the tune of an Indian song. So what do we understand from here? We understand that he's actually getting married. So this scenario is that of a marriage. He's sitting on a horse and the horse is decorated like the way we used to have earlier. Pehle aise hi hoti thi shadiyan. Now of course things have changed, but this is how he had come. There were lots of people, the horse was decorated, and the band was playing all the songs and all. So Ramlal was overjoyed to see such pomp and splendor, and he was very happy to see pomp and show, मतलब show off, और splendor मतलब इतना अच्छे तरीके से, attractive तरीके से सब कुछ set up था. So he was very happy to see all of that. He had never dreamt that his fourth daughter would have such a grand wedding. Bholi's elder sisters who had come for the occasion were envious of her luck. Now, Ramlal had never imagined that his daughter is going to have such a wedding, and all the other sisters were also very envious. Envious matlab jealous. बहुत jealous थे कि oh, she's got such a nice husband and so much of splendor. When the auspicious moment came, the priest said, "Bring the bride." Bholi, clad in a red silken bridal dress, was led to the bride's place near the sacred fire. "Garland the bride," one of his friends prompted Bishambar Nath. Now, it's set up there. The priest is sitting there. He's asking her to bring the girl. The bride, Bholi, comes in wearing a nice red dress. Bishambar Nath is there. Bishambar Nath's friends ask her to garland her. Garland करना मतलब वो माला पहनाना. That's garland. And auspicious का मतलब होता है शुभ. The bridegroom lifted the garland of yellow marigolds. A woman slipped back the silken veil from the bride's face. Bishambar took a quick glance. The garland remained poised in his hands. The bride slowly pulled down the veil over her face. Now they both are there. They have a garland of yellow marigolds. What is marigold? गेंदे के फूल. वो फूलों की माला थी, and there was a lady from behind who says that, lift off the veil. Veil वो जो घूंघट करते हैं, that's known as veil. So इसको हटाइए, just remove that. And that there was another woman with Bholi who was removing that. And Bishambar Nath was looking at Bholi with garland in his hands. Have you seen her? Said Bishambar to the friend next to him. She has pock marks on her face. The friend has seen that she has marks on her face. So what? You're not young either. Maybe. But if I am to marry her, her father must give me 5,000 rupees. Now, the friend also says that if I have to marry such a girl now, I will need 5,000 rupees. I won't marry like this with her. Ramlal went and placed his turban, his honor, at Bishambar's feet. Do not humiliate me so. Take 2,000 rupees. No, 5,000 or we go back. Keep your daughter. Be a little considerate, please. If you go back, I can never show my face in the village. So now there is Bishambar Nath and there is Ramlal, and they are having a confrontation. Bishambar is saying that I need 5,000 rupees or else I'm not going to marry your daughter. And Ramlal is saying that, don't humiliate me. Take 2,000 rupees. And if you will go away from here, I will not be able to show my face to anyone here. I will be humiliated and embarrassed if you do something like that. Then out with 5,000, tears streaming down his face. Ramlal went in, opened the safe and counted out the notes. He placed the bundle at the bridegroom's feet. Ramlal goes inside, takes out the money, counts the money and puts the money at the feet of Bishambar Nath. On Bishambar's greedy face appeared a triumphant smile. He had gambled and won. Give me the garland, he announced. Once again, the veil was slipped back from the bride's face, but this time her eyes were not downcast. She was looking up, looking straight at her prospective husband, and in her eyes there was neither anger nor hate, only cold contempt. Now, Bishambar Nath is feeling very triumphant. Oh, I have won, I've got the money that I needed. And the veil was put back on her face. But now look at the expression that Bholi has. Her eyes were not downcast. उसकी आंखें नीचे झुकी हुई नहीं थी. Previously, she would not reply back to anything which anyone would say. She would look down and she would be quiet. But this time, it was not the case. She was looking up, very confident. She was looking straight at her prospective husband. And in her eyes, there was neither anger nor hate, only cold contempt. उसकी आंखों में ना तो गुस्सा था, ना कोई किस्म की नफरत थी. She only had cold contempt. Contempt करना मतलब, complete disapproval to something. When you and the contempt is very cold. मतलब you don't show it. You don't show it, but it's there in your eyes. You are saying it with your eyes that I don't agree to this, I disapprove of this. And that is what cold contempt was, and that is what she was feeling at that time. She had gained a lot of confidence. Bishambar raised the garland to place it round the bride's neck. But before he could do so, Bholi's hand struck out like a streak of lightning and the garland was flung into the fire. She got up and threw away the veil. So this is the scene. When Bishambar Nath opened, he put his hand up to place the garland around the neck. Bholi struck out her hand and she threw the garland. The garland was flung into the air. वो हवा में उड़ करके वो माला जो होती है, it falls in the fire. It's there in the fire, and she threw away the veil. She threw away that veil जो उसके सिर पे था. Pitaji, said Bholi in a clear, loud voice, and her father, mother, sisters, brothers, relations and neighbors were startled to hear her speak without even the slightest stammer. Pitaji, take back your money. I am not going to marry this man. And now she's confronted her father also. She's saying to her father, you take the money away. I am not going to marry such a man. Ramlal was thunderstruck. The guests began to whisper, so shameless, so ugly and so shameless. Now everybody was startled that how could she speak like this without stammering? And they were thinking in their mind that she's so ugly and still she's so shameless. She doesn't have any shame. Bholi, are you crazy? Shouted Ramlal. You want to disgrace your family? Have some regard for our izzat. For the sake of your izzat, said Bholi, I was willing to marry this lame old man, but I will not have such a mean, greedy and contemptible coward as my husband. I won't, I won't, I won't. I won't, I won't, I won't. Ramlal is saying that don't play with our reputation, don't spoil that. And Bholi says that I agreed to marry this man because of your reputation only. But now when I see his real face, I will not have such a mean, greedy and contemptible coward. What a shameless girl. We all thought she was a harmless, dumb cow. Bholi turned violently on the old woman. Yes, auntie, you are right. You all thought I was a dumb, driven cow. That's why you wanted to hand me over to this heartless creature. But now the dumb cow, the stammering fool is speaking. Do you want to hear more? Bholi is responding in a very violent manner, in a very violent tone. And she says to the woman, yes, auntie, you are right. You all thought I was a dumb, driven cow. That's why you wanted to hand me over to this heartless creature. But now the dumb cow, the stammering fool is speaking. Do you want to hear more? Now, she has begun to speak and look at the response, extremely confident. I am pretty happy to hear such a response from the girl. Everyone thought that she is a heartless creature. She's dumb. She will not speak up for herself. But now she's showing what is the correct side. Bishambarnath, the grocer, started to go back with his party. The confused bandsman thought this was the end of the ceremony and struck up a closing song. Now, Bishambarnath, now he's confused. He decides that I'll go back. I'm not going to marry this girl anymore. And he made the the ending song getting started. Ramlal stood rooted to the ground, his head bowed low with weight of grief and shame. The flames of the sacred fire slowly died down. Everyone was gone. Ramlal turned to Bholi and said, what about you? No one will ever marry you now. What shall we do with you now? Ramlal, on the other hand, is extremely ashamed. His head is low with grief and shame. Grief matlab dukh, shame is sharm. Usko bahut dukh bhi ho raha tha. He was feeling shameful also that what has happened is very, very unfortunate. And now, Ramlal says to Bholi that what is going to happen with you now, nobody is going to marry you because for what you have done. So what will we do with you? And Sulekha said in a voice that was calm and steady, don't you worry, Pitaji. In your old age, I will serve you and mother and I will teach in the same school where I learned so much. Isn't that right, ma'am? Now, her name was Sulekha, and when her father asks her that what are we going to do with you now? Nobody is going to marry you. And she says that when you are old, I am going to serve you and my mother. And isn't it right? So there were her teachers who were standing there, and when they saw Bholi's response, they were very, very satisfied. The teacher had all along stood in a corner watching the drama. Yes, Bholi, of course, she replied. And in her smiling eyes was the light of a deep satisfaction that an artist feels when contemplating the completion of her masterpiece. They were very happy, they were very satisfied, they were very contemplated that whatever has happened is very, very good, and they couldn't believe that Bholi had so much of confidence, but they were very happy for her. Let's have a look at the question and answers. Bholi's teacher helped her overcome social barriers by encouraging and motivating her. How do you think you can contribute towards changing the social attitudes illustrated in this story? We can contribute by saying no to taking or giving dowry. That's very important. We must not discriminate between a boy and a girl. Both should be given equal rights and opportunities to grow. We must also learn to respect those who are differently abled and treat them at par. Should girls be aware of their rights and assert them? Should girls and boys have the same rights, duties, and privileges? What are some of the ways in which society treats them differently? When we speak of human rights, do we differentiate between girls' rights and boys' rights? Yes, there is a differentiation between girls' and boys' rights. Although equal in the eyes of law, society treats them differently. Parents spend more on a boy's education than that of a girl. A girl is just trained to be a wife and mother. Boys have special privileges in matters of food, career, or freedom. Girls must be aware of their rights to exercise them. They must utilize their education to preserve their self-reliance and dignity. They must be ready to demand their due and even fight for it. Question 3. Do you think the characters in the story were speaking to each other in English? If not, in which language were they speaking? You can get clues from the names of the persons and the non-English words used in the story. No, we don't think so. They spoke in Hindi. Several words like Number Star, Tehsildar Sahab, Izzat and Pitaji are ample proof of that. Even the names of characters like Randal and Bholi support that. With this, we come to the end of chapter number 9 from your textbook. Stay tuned in for more chapters. Thank you so much.